They've gone after the wrong thing, as we have gone after the wrong thing after we got equal opportunity in this country and laws passed to protect our citizenship and our rights of citizenship. We started celebrating, having a good time, playing, laughing, dancing, getting high, and we forgot what God has done for us over all these many generations. God has permitted us to be used and abused more than any other soul of a human being. God has permitted that soul of the African people, African American people, or the African people, to be used and abused. But the God that permits that is obligated to do justice by everything. So in the measure that He has allowed us to be deprived, He must award us, and at least that measure or greater. So when we look at the sad history, as those sad turns of events in our life, beginning with the first one, putting us upon slave ships and bringing us here to be slaves as property of others, and following that at the terrible events in our life, when we look at those events and see the damage to our psyche, the damage to our life as human beings, and the threat to our future as human beings, when we see that and realize that we have overcome that, we're still here, we're still human, and we're still performing very excellent way, men and women, that says to us that God has not yet finished rewarding us. God is not through with us. Freedom and equal opportunity here, that's just the necessary situation or the necessary condition for us to begin doing what God has formed us for. And I say formed us. We are no more Africans like the Africans of the continent of the motherland of Africa. We are new people. We have a new mind. We have a new spirit. We have new sensitivities as a people. We have a brand new defaults as a race. So we are different. We are different. We are different in the abstract picture, and we are different in the physical picture. We are not abstractly the same. That is, our mentality is different, spirit different, sensitivity is different, aspirations different, humor different. We are not Africans anymore of the motherland. We are Africans of this land. New Africans. New Africans.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That is, with God's name, Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, all systems of knowledge. I bear witness that there is nothing deserving of worship except Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. The prayers and peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmed Sabri, and I'll be your host for this afternoon's program. Welcome to New Africa Talks, coming to you live from Harlem, New York, an internet program dedicated to promoting the concept of New Africa, Imam W Mohammed's vision and direction for Muslim African American community life. This program has as its focus the students of Imam W Mohammed and the association of Imam Muhammad. And what we mean by students are those who identify Imam Muhammad as their leader and teacher, and put his teaching and his commentary, his tafsir, first after the Quran and the life of Muhammad the Prophet. Before we begin bring our guests on, we want to also give a little more clarification to what we mean by student. Imam Muhammad said at a Ramadan session 2004 in Chicago, Illinois, "My students, they love the way I think, and they devote themselves to what I teach. If you think the way the world thinks instead of the way I instruct you to think, you are not my student. My student only goes to accept the way I think, and they devote themselves to what I teach." End quote. Another part of that same Ramadan session, Imam Muhammad states, "So we have many of you who are my students. You write down my talks, you try to get all you can get from me, and you make it first among the reading materials. I know you do. You put nothing above it except Allah and His Messenger." End quote. So just to give clarification, this is the this program is dedicated to and focused on. All are invited to listen and gain knowledge from. However, this is our central focus. We want to bring on our guests for this afternoon for the topics for this New Africa Talks. We are pleased to have Sister Khadijah Siddeeq Mohammed, who is the wife of Imam Muhammad, and Sister Kalimah Azeez. We can put them on the screen now. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. We're very, very pleased to have you on this program and to share in this program with the audience. So that the audience knows our topic, or the topic that the two sisters will be speaking on. Sister Khadijah's topic is how our ethnic identity grows out of our human nature, and how our human nature complements our ethnic identity. And Sister Kalimah will be speaking on the topic, the logic of knowing the purpose of our rituals in Al-Islam. After they give their presentations, we will open the lines for questions and answers. And the questions can be regarding the specific topic, or some of the questions you might have that aren't specifically addressing these topics. We do want to mention that both sisters are in Imam Muhammad's Dawah and comparative religion class for over 5 years. Can you specifically give me how long you were in that class? Sister Khadijah?
Well, what was it, 2002? We started
2001.
2001. Okay, because it transitioned to the first Sundays.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So from 2001 to 2008.
Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
So, but before we begin, we would like to ask you both, because whenever we have opportunity to speak to the students in Imam Muhammad's class, we see that as very precious for us, as specifically members of the African Intelligentsia and this talk show, but also I believe I'm speaking for the audience listening to this program, because I remember I wanted to participate in that class, but I knew I wasn't able to go to Chicago once a week. So could you each share something or your experience in that class, and just things you benefited from, and its importance to you and I guess the community, before we begin begin your presentations?
Go right ahead, Kalimah. You can.
Thank you, Khadijah. Whenever I think back, I was one of the younger members in Imam Muhammad's class. I think I was just turned 12 years old when we first started class. And I think what amazed me was that Imam Muhammad didn't talk to us like I was 12 years old. He didn't talk to us like we were young students and he had to kind of, I'm using this, dumb it down or spoon feed us. He spoke to us like he was talking to an imam session or leaders in religion for years. And he would speak direct, and you get some imams, this too deep for y'all, or how they gonna be able to handle this. Instead, his approach was, you all will understand it in time. And it's so amazing. Sometimes I'll be sitting back, I'll be reading Quran or reading something, and what he says begins to unfold because he did not give it to me in a watered down way. He gave me some hard truths that still to this day just would blow my mind, to know that Imam Muhammad was sharing that with me, even at the age of 12. So that was something that I always valued, because he really believed that I'm going to give it to you, and Allah will teach you. He will educate you. He will let this unfold for you. But who am I to, think that I can give it to you, watered down or something like that. So I always valued that, to be able to sit in class and just have just pure wisdom and understanding given to me. And in addition to that, what was very special about Imam Muhammad's class is that I believe the students that stuck with Imam Muhammad, we believed and trusted him 100%. There was no doubt in our mind as to what he was telling us. Was it true? Did I have to, just oppose this information against some other person? Being a student of Imam Muhammad, my whole heart, my whole understanding, my whole mind was automatically in tune to know and to believe him and the truth that Allah was given to us through him 100%. He didn't have to tear anything down before he gave us understanding. A lot of people come with their own thinking. They may come from universities or colleges or other places, and he has to undo something before he gives it, or they're thinking to trying to contradict or be combative in what they understood. But in this class, it was beautiful to be in a room full of minds that understood that what he was telling us was 100% like haq, like it was real. He was just sharing us with what Allah has given. And so coming from that premise of not having to tear anything down, being true slates that truly was innocent and believed, allowed us to perceive everything he said from such a beautiful way. Similar to when Muhammad the Prophet was getting Quran from Allah, just having that clean slate. So being able to process truth from that premise, not affected by the world's thinking, not having to undo the world's thinking, but just being able to receive what Allah wanted us to receive in the wisdom, was something that was very, very transforming to your whole life.
Right.
So, and as a result, my whole life is just like beautiful because of it. The way I perceive, the way I understand, the way I can navigate through society, the way I could move, was just such a beautiful situation. And also in the class, Imam Muhammad taught us, but Imam Muhammad also put people around us in the class that also educated us, because I always have to give mad respect to Imam Muhammad Siddeeq, who Imam Muhammad made sure that he taught us other components, such as our history with the Nation of Islam, things like chess or music and things of that nature, because that primed our minds too, to be able to understand and perceive things, and understand our purpose. So when you had those things, it just really shaped who I am. And I tell people all the time, like, my identity is Imam Muhammad's class and what was given in that space, especially in my formative years as such. It became who I am as an individual and as a person. So, and I mean, the class was amazing, and we know that Imam Muhammad wanted to open this up to every young person around the country and do a correspondence course. And so that was his intention. So inshallah, this is a beautiful opportunity, a platform that we have where we could continue to share what Imam Muhammad has given us. So I just really appreciate that. Khadijah?
But excuse me, before you do begin, I want to ask, because you mentioned that Imam Muhammad wanted to open it to as many young people as possible. In your estimations, why do you specifically think Imam Muhammad was looking for a younger audience? And that's one question. The second was, how many students began with you, and how many were at the last of the class?
Yeah. So Khadijah, you can correct me if I remember, because I was one of the youngest students. In my opinion, I think Imam Muhammad opened the class up to young people because the beginning of the class started because of the concern of 9/11. It was a concern that 9/11 happened, and they came, Imam Muhammad, what are we supposed to do? 9/11 happened. The Muslims are getting, bashed everywhere across the country. It's horrible. What's going to be your response? What's going to be your stance on it? And so Imam Muhammad's response to what was going on in the world, especially surrounding the image of Islam, was to educate the young people. That was his direct response to that, or at least one of his direct responses to what was going on in the world. And he wanted us to become, it was a Dawah class. So we became ambassadors, in a sense, of the religion. We became ambassadors of the wisdom that Imam Muhammad gave us. And no offense, but I think he's been trying for years to work with adults. And like we said, you have to tear down or deconstruct ideologies and thinkings. And it was combative. He talks about climbing up that stoker coal in our community to just give them something that was the most precious gift that any human being could have. I have to fight you to give it to you. But here it is. I'm choosing these young people who will go into the future, who will be ambassadors for this religion, ambassadors for Islam in America, under the leadership of Imam Muhammad, and I don't have to fight them. I don't have to do that. And I see them as the future of where we're going, and I'm investing in them. And you understand that when Imam did a thing, he did it with many different reasons. So he may even knew the climate in our community where, we have imams who are holding on to positions, not educating young people. So he was showing them, in addition, how to secure our future, educate our future, take time out with them, invest in them. So it's almost like sometimes when Imam Muhammad did things, it's like left no stone unturned by doing one single act to teach other people around the country the importance and the emphasis that he's putting on the youth and the young people, the importance of making us scholarly people, not just, we're going to talk about rituals a little bit later, not just people that's into rituals, but people who are truly understanding this religion. But then it was a Dawah class. We became ambassadors and educators ourselves. We eventually became teachers in the class. So we have all these components. And I think that's why he was focusing on the young people. And to the second question, we started off with 12. Imam Muhammad chose 12. And by the end of the class, it was 4 or 5 of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How many brothers were left?
What was it? It was at least 3, 4, maybe.
4 brothers?
Yeah, because well, I don't know. By that time, Imam Rashad had come. I know my brothers, Mansour and Muhammad, were in it, and then your brother Yusuf.
In the beginning.
And it could have been someone else. My face was always facing forward, so I was not getting in trouble.
Right. I've gotten in trouble before, but not again, Khadijah.
Alhamdulillah. Sister Khadijah, the same question, like, what are the benefits from the class and whatever?
Okay, alhamdulillah. I'm just still trying to get the fear of getting in trouble in that class is a mortal fear, especially when your father is Imam Muhammad. It literally is a mortal fear. But no, I didn't need fear to pay attention, but I recognized it existed. Yeah, so the benefit from the class. First, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to Sister Kalimah and Brother Ahmed. It's a blessing to be here. And I know you had said earlier, taking time out of our busy schedule. This is my life. This is my love. And this is what I busy myself with. So this is not in any way taking from that. This is feeding that and informing that. I think, I can't even describe how I can explain the benefits of the class. I think similar to what Sister Kalimah has said, the class it gave me who I am, how I see the world, who I am, how I think. It's me, and I know for myself, over the years, thinking back to the class and just the experiences surrounding it, and trying to name different feelings that I had or different awarenesses that I had as a child, but you're not able to put words to it at the time. I remember just this one concept that just kind of summed up, or not summed up, but that was kind of like light spreading in the class for me, and starting with Imam Muhammad and then spreading around. And that was the concept of human excellence. I don't remember any particular time when he said it, the word, like the phrase, but I do remember looking at him and saying, human excellence, like looking and learning and saying, this is what a human being looks like. And letting that register on me completely. I had never seen somebody who was just completely real. Like, he was just, I love all of us. I love myself too, but I'm working my way back to the creation that God made me. I own that, and I'm honored to have that struggle and to get back to my original nature, But to see someone who he wasn't struggling, he was living, he was living it, right? And such that you recognize that that's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? That's what I'm supposed to be. And I think to me that process of being around someone who is real and also knowing my own self, I'm just so sensitive to every influence in my environment, and that just imprinted upon me, like, this is what I want to be. Like, that's what I want, that piece that I see, this, and I would say he called it human excellence. I want human excellence. That's what I want. And actually, interesting fact, I wasn't actually picked to be in the class. But I was adopted into the class. So because what happened was, as a child, we're all still children, young, I was probably in the last few years of high school. And, our father was like, yeah, we're in Indianapolis, but we're going to be in this class. Whatever you thought you was doing in school, you ain't doing it no more. It's like, you will be showing up in Chicago every weekend. I don't care about your homework. I don't care about your tests. Beautiful. Thank Allah for it. So we went, and he asked us just a few questions. It wasn't a test, but it was just like a, spell this in Arabic. Like, how would you say Sam in Arabic? Like, how would you spell it? And there were many children there, and then he selected 12. Now, my two brothers, Mansur and Muhammad, who were younger than me, they got selected. I did not. I was so sad. I was like, I don't really know what this class is, but I know I really wanted to be in it. Right. And I'm looking at my little brothers. They're like, we're in it. Okay. I'm like, what? But alhamdulillah. And I thought my father and my mother were going to leave me in Indianapolis. And, I was like, oh, man, everybody else is going. My father's like, no, you get in the car. You going too. So alhamdulillah. And I would be at the back of the class listening. But then I was watching. I was watching. Folks weren't paying attention.
Right.
So I started taking their seats.
Yeah,
So
move it up.
I started moving up. I was like,
She
that person ain't paying attention. I got on the last row. That person, next class, that person ain't paying attention. Got on the next row. That person, until I was right there with Kalimah Rashida.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then at that point, I was, considered a part of the class. But no, Imam Muhammad, when he selected the 12, I was not one of the original 12 that was selected, but I was accepted into the class because I was like, I'm supposed to be here. This is the only class I've ever wanted to be in my whole life. So,
question: what was the? If you do know, I'm not sure if you do know. What was the criteria the man was looking for? What was the? It was just his decision, I guess.
Yeah, no idea.
Okay.
No idea.
But I can't say it was probably in the spirit of the people. I can't tell you, but he had some methodology.
Right.
Yeah, I do. And one of the things I want to say too, just as a personal reflection, and I do think it's important for, in the sense that I eventually did marry Imam Muhammad, and it shows you how Allah guides someone. I don't know why he didn't choose me, but had he chose me and then married me, people who want to pull his character down would use that, if you follow what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I don't know why he was like, I don't know about her. No, not her. Don't pick her. No, not her.
Allah got to play it for her.
So, alhamdulillah.
Right. Alhamdulillah. And that leads into the question I had. Like, what's as the wife of Imam Muhammad, what did you learn from personal relations with him, his personal life, that you think we could benefit from, that we might not be aware of because we don't know him as personally, but that once you became his wife, that you saw from him that anything of value to us as a community of individuals and people?
I mean, that's a long question and an answer. But I want to say like this, with respect, sometimes people are like, he must have told you like some deep insights. Like, what did he say? And I'm like, Imam Muhammad was a transparent person.
Right.
He did not elevate people and give them special status by telling them something. If you heard something that someone else didn't hear, it wasn't because he intended it. It was just that you happened to be in a situation that the other person wasn't there. And I want to emphasize that too, because there's a need, I feel, in our community to understand our relationship with Imam Muhammad in a way that is brings our community into view. Many times as we have something special that inspired us, and got us motivated, and a closer relationship with him, it may translate into the community in a kind of distorted way as something special and different. What I can offer to people that I see is not that I was any, like favored or anything. I saw him as a person first. Like like when I say I saw a human being, like that's what I saw. And I had never seen someone so innocent. So I didn't even know what a real person looked like. It was like, you didn't want to stare too hard. You're like, what? It's like, you don't have to be so stressed about everything. So what I'm saying is to actually see him in his human self and trust that. And I'm not going to go off on a particular topic that does need to be addressed, but I think we go after the things we can process with our minds and that we can progress with our thinking, but we might forget to follow just his human model, just the human model that he gave to us. And in doing that, we can bring our community into view and unite us for progress, and even make sense of the things that Allah has allowed to manifest in our lives as signs for our brothers and sisters inside the context of the community and our what I call our progressive equality as we work together towards unity, moving the community forward. So I don't see myself as having a special knowledge, but maybe a perspective, because for me, I never consider myself like a scholar or anything like that. I still don't. And like, I would be like, I don't know how I'm going to remember everything. Like, while I take notes and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't think I can speak very well or any of these things. But I knew that the person standing in front of me was quality. Like, and I'm like, hands down, excellent person. And like, that was my disposition. And I guess that's what I will offer, to the community, is to trust his example, and like, I'll give an example with that. It's like, we look at the different things he may have done with like CPC or other things, and we excuse what we see as an issue in his example to take his logic. And I'm like, he didn't make a mistake. Right. CPC wasn't a failure, he is being guided by God, but we're not embracing his example, but we are taking his the thoughts, because we can put those in different places and progress them. And we should use those thoughts. But I'm saying that those thoughts don't really even come alive until you take his human model and have faith in everything that he did, and don't feel a need to excuse or anything, or explain or fudge away things that we may not understand why he did what he did. But I'll say this last thing here, because Sister Kalimah mentioned Imam Muhammad Siddeeq, my father, and I know he was an integral part. He reminded me of like thinking back on what he did. He reminded me of the person who breaks up the soil before you plant. He just drilled in. He was like, if you don't see Imam Muhammad today, you wouldn't have seen Prophet Muhammad back then. He would he had this amazing khutbah he would give, like talking about like the progression of, how it was amazing every single weekend. And then Imam Muhammad would come in, Assalamu alaikum, and we'd be all ready. Ready. It's like, okay, we are ready now. We are ready. And to that point, I want to say something about the character of my father, which I do think it would be a help for us as we are aiming to get into community life, a model community life. He trusted Imam Muhammad completely. He reminds me of the story of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, where the Prophet had went on the ascension, and Abu Bakr hadn't talked to the Prophet yet, right? And the people like, okay, now you ain't really gonna believe this, right? And so they came to Abu Bakr and they said what the Prophet said. And he said, now you believe? He said, did the Prophet say? Yeah, I believe it. So it's like, my father had that spirit, right? He was like, look, if Imam Muhammad did it, I'm ready to lay down my life. If he said it, I'm ready to lay down my life. Right. And God will educate me as he sees fit. And I feel in that example, there's a lot. I know for me, it has been guidance for my growth in working in human community life, and learning to fear Allah and worship only Allah, and not who you think you are, in community, but turn yourself over to your actions, your desires, your motivations, over to what Allah wants of you or of us in community. So, yes, alhamdulillah, he was like 1000%. And he'd be like, I don't know, have to be like, yes, brother Imam. Yes. And you listen to each recording, you can hear him. Go ahead, brother Imam. Like, you listen to the recording, like you can hear his voice. So alhamdulillah. So I'm gonna, I'll stop there.
Because that is what I was really referring to, like observing his character, not so much like, because I know the man was transparent and he didn't leave a specific knowledge for a specific individual or people. What I was really referring to was what you were clearing up his character, because like for me, I would say in my mind how I saw the man, but what stood out for me, one of the things was, if I could put it this way, he was an older person, but his spirit was like a child, like really like innocent, and just like he had a lot of life to him at the age that he was. So it just registered to me like, wow, he's, to keep doing this and have life and be motivated by what you're doing. And that's the impression, one of the impressions that he left on me. We're going to, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I really did. So I think when Khadijah was talking, she was talking about just seeing the human excellence. The beauty of seeing Imam Muhammad, the wisdom that he shared, we'll see him at a Ramadan session or we'll see him giving a speech, but to see that expressed through his everyday life was something that was amazing. So to see the wisdom of what he shared expressed through human life. So we'll see it and we're like, oh, this is some deep wisdom he shared. And I'll hear all the time, what does that mean, Brother Imam? How do we apply it? He was the application of everything that he taught us. Right. So it's that dual thing. So I'm getting the wisdom and then I see him apply it just every day. So when we're in class and he see that we hungry and he gets up and goes in the back and make us sandwiches, or he barbecues for us before he comes. He, that kindness, that his character was the wisdom that he shared with us. And so when Khadijah talks about to look at him in the human excellence, and to see him, so we'll see the words and the teachings, but we'll try to disassociate that from the man when his character was the words that he was teaching. His action, his decision, whatever he did, we could see the wisdom that he just taught us a second ago playing out in just how he talked to us or the things that he did. And so that was beautiful. I always joke with my sister and she says, doesn't it seem like in the Quran when they say, oh Allah, this reminds us of something we knew before? It feels like sometimes I've lived two lives in my current life. I'm 32, but it feels like I've lived two lives. I lived one life where being in the presence of Imam Muhammad, watching his example, seeing how he's guiding us and leading us, it was almost, we were in the presence of the destiny. By being in his presence. And now it's like, this is another lifetime where it's like, okay, now we in a different lifetime, looking around like, I knew I worry about the children that come after me because I lived in the presence of what the destiny of the destination that Allah wants for the human being.
Right.
I was there. I witnessed it. I could, touch it. I was right there seeing it. Manifesting, seeing it, speak to me, take me to the movies, eat with me. This is where the destiny of human excellence is supposed to, the human being is supposed to reach. Right. So it's like, you can see the promised land, like I'm looking at the promised land. Right. And now it's like, yeah, I think I lived two lifetimes. It seems like two different worlds. And so just saying, on what Khadijah was saying, just being in the presence of that destiny. That is our destiny. To become human, the human excellence is our destiny. Right. So to see it, the actual example of it, I could only imagine how the Sahaba was. Yeah. And Imam Siddeeq would tell us that. He's like, we like the Sahabas. Yeah. We're right here. We got a glimpse of Muhammad the Prophet in modern day time. They waiting on him to come back. He here.
It reminds me of when I think about what y'all saying, and then we have to move the program so y'all can do your presentations. But I think about when y'all mentioned how Imam Muhammad cooked for y'all, and he noticed y'all, and would be observing his class and students. He set an example for imams. That's what he did, because. And this is throughout the country, that we have difficult stories with with many imams in our association. But if they were to have if they would been to have his character, display some of his character, the community would be in a better situation. And I'm saying that as someone who I'm very objective, and I feel I'm really actually happy about the projection of our community. I don't say it like, well, all is lost. I really believe our community is headed for a great destiny, and I literally see signs of it presently, currently. But that just brought to my his examples brought that to my attention. And I do want to mention too, this because we're here in a good spirit, talking to yourselves and myself on this program, and I can see from some of the comments, those watching are also in high in spirits just from your comments, giving examples and sharing history with Imam Muhammad, and your love for Imam Muhammad and our admiration. It's important to note that that's a natural thing for communities and their leader. I say that because it's sometimes expected that African Americans, Muslims, don't show that love for their specific leader. We're supposed to only display that for someone outside of our association. And people wonder why. Well, who is he? Why do you feel that way about him? But we're natural people. You go to any country, India, Africa. If you saw the way they treated their leader, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute. But this is a natural affinity. In fact, and I want to read this hadith from Muhammad the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him. Part of this hadith, he says, the best of your leaders are those whom you love and who love you, who pray for you and you pray for them. So that's just natural. This affinity, this love we have for our leader. And I try to remember Imam Muhammad in my du'as before I ask Allah for anything, to raise his station in paradise, because it's a true love that we have for our leader. And I think with that sincerity, Allah's going to bless us with our sincerity, not our knowledge. But we are on a schedule. So we would like to begin our program, our starter topic, one of our topics with Sister Khadijah Siddeeq Mohammed, Imam Muhammad's wife, and she will be speaking on the topic, how our ethnic identity grows out of our human nature, and how our human nature complements our ethnic identity. So you have the score, Sister Khadijah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Brother Ahmed. With the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. First, I want to give a preview of how my thoughts will be organized and how they'll be presented. What I hope to create is a thought environment. The presentation that I have here, I think about Mary, peace be upon her, peace and blessings be upon her, the mother of Jesus, and how they asked Mary a specific question, and she pointed to Jesus. She was like, and they're like, well, how can he answer? He just got here. Yeah, but he answered, and boy, did he answer, And what I found interesting, the ayat in the Quran that Allah gives us, that the scene where Mary points to Jesus uses the same root for shura, that we come together and we make decisions together. And we know that Mary represents community. So out of respect for the thinkers that are seeking guidance from God, I don't want to offer my specific thought in this space, because I know that the people who came together today, although I'm progressing myself and I'm proud of the progress that I'm making as a student of Imam Muhammad, as a thinking human being, I'm very conscious that when people come together in this way, it wasn't because of me. They're here because of the love of Imam Muhammad that we were just speaking about, and that's really true all around the community. Every masjid, I'm pretty sure, is held together most tightly by that love that people have for Imam Muhammad, and then they have patience with us while we grow and follow his leadership, right? So out of respect for that, I'm not going to offer a direct answer to how our ethnic identity grows out of our human identity, but I will share thoughts that I believe have the same cadence or the same slope of the concept, how our ethnic identity grows out of our human identity, and trust from there what I know is already and always happening, and that is Allah is guiding each and every one of us, and that I don't need to put a particular thought in your head for you to get a profound idea for what it is you're supposed to do. And if you're not supposed to get a thought, there's nothing I could say to give it to you. So I'm just going to give you a thought environment. So the first point I want to present to us, or present to us here today, is the concept of new when we're looking at material things. You know, we see iPhones come into existence, we see technology, all these new things, right? But if we stop and reflect, although new is still new, there's nothing completely new the way sometimes new things are presented. All material that appears as new in our eyes came from a material before it. And this is not difficult for us to understand, you know. It may be a little bit of a stretch when we're looking at the man-made world. Like you see a computer, it's new. You know, the iPhone, I don't know what number we're on, but I think we're in the teens. Here we have this iPhone and it's completely new. But when we look at it, both the material and the concept came from something before. So nothing that we see that is manifesting as new in our eyes, and it is new in its material form as it appears, in its freshness to follow a spirit to the destiny, it is new, but at the same time it is not. And we see this clearly when we talk about how a child is new into the world. This new child coming in this new flesh body, new face, new bones, everything. But there's no way for this new child to come into the world except that the child came from the flesh of two parents that came together and united, and then a new child was born. This is the world Allah has made. Another point I want to bring to our attention and place in our thought environment. Human beings have special eyes. When we think about all the creation that has eyes, the way their eyes operate only informs their basic sensory needs. You know, am I hungry? Does what I see is what I see? Can I eat it? You know, I'm afraid. What I'm looking at, is that scaring me? Or I want that. Is what I'm looking at something I want, you know, for my life to progress it? But human beings' eyes are special. It does all that as well. But even in the process of doing that, it imprints upon us and feeds our identity. Our eyes are not only our identity when you look at us and you see an individual person. That's just the symbol that, you know, someone's eyes are an important part of their identity. But more importantly, it's what you see that makes you who you are. And Allah made us this way, right? We know that we are made from clay. So when a human being sees a thing, it imprints upon the human being. More on the human eyes. The eyes do not stop in their desire to perceive correctly. Like our ears never close, the eyes never stop. They don't know distance. They don't get fatigued when they cover distance to see correctly. As a matter of fact, I think they get fatigued when we put things too close to them. But when we just walk out to scenes that can have us looking to 2 miles away, to 2 light years away, right? The eyes never stop in their desire to perceive something correctly. Taking in conjunction with the fact that everything that we see imprints upon who we are, that means that we never stop in our desire to understand who we are correctly, to get our identity correct. The next point I want to share with us. God is the creator of everything. One of the wonders of his creation is the progressive unity every part and every feature of his creation communicates through form and function. God created us with eyes and a clay nature such that everything imprints upon us. God created this world in its design, and as He made it to imprint upon us. But not as animals. He knows the nature of the human eye because He made the human eyes, right? So as humans, we're searching deep into His creation so that it will imprint upon us and it will grow us into our identity. The next point that I want to share is beyond a point. It's an ayah from the Quran. From Surah 30. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. They know but the outer things in the life of this world, but of the end of things they are heedless. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. And again, I trust you with the one who made you to guide your thoughts. What I have next to share is a quote from a speech from one of the beautiful brothers in our community. And when I read his speech, I knew for sure he was in our community. I didn't have to see his picture. As a matter of fact, I've never met him. He's never met me. And interestingly enough, he's never met Imam Muhammad. But I know for sure that he is my brother, such that as the prophet greeted the prophets who came before him, he's never seen them, but he could definitely say, "This is my father," and greet his father. "This is my brother," and greet his brother. And upon that greeting, he could progress. So as I read the speech and listened, or I listened in my head, I said, "What? This man is my brother. And he deserves my respect. He deserves my attention. And he deserves space in my understanding of who we are in community and welcoming him into our community as he's always been there. It's just that I'm understanding and seeing him." I'm going to read his quote or read a piece from his speech. And as I read, I want to see if you can see as well. Can you tell that he is our brother? Can you tell? And here's the quote. Life may be called the essence of the universe. Men can only see its marvelous phenomena and hear its many-voiced utterances. These are enough to fill the mind with reverence and wondering amazement. All that man can see, know, and experience here on the earth are but the utterances of this subtle element, or essence of the universe. It breathes from all eternity and never rests from its mighty labors. With it, there is neither night nor day. It animates the mightiest constellations and sends them sweeping in majesty round the sky, at the same time that it fills the earth, sea, and air with countless, endless living creatures, some too small to be seen by the human eye, and others too huge for belief. Its source, its destiny, its beginning, its end meet and mingle in eternity, and none can explain its whence or where to. We only see its works and wonders while on it goes, creating, unfolding, renewing, changing, perpetually taking on new forms, issuing new sounds, and filling the world with new perfumes and new life. It scatters its fruits with a lavish hand and revels in its all-creating, boundless, eternal, and inexhaustible power. It gives us 1,000 seeds for a single plant and 1,000 eggs for a single fish, and yet the whole world is full and overflowing and never-resting life. The telescope and the microscope both come to our assistance. We look up and are filled with wonder. We look down, and the very earth beneath us seems one living mass of ever-moving matter. Like the Hebrew king, we may well exclaim that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. End of the quote. The topic for today is how our ethnic identity grows out of our human nature, which I've phrased as our human identity. When I reflected on this and as I saw this, I couldn't help but give the greetings. This brother's in our community. And not only that, I see Imam Muhammad in you. I can see what Imam Muhammad asked of us. He said, give me a good future, right? I will live in you. I see that this person is our brother through his thinking, through his work, and through that I see Imam Muhammad in him. And these are two different brothers now. The brother from the quote, the long quote, and the one who has given us the title for the presentation for today. One other way to state how our ethnic identity grows out of our human identity. How am I both an individual and in a community all at the same time? How does my small identity grow out of my human identity? How am I African American completely every second of the day, but also one with Caucasians and Asian Americans? How is that possible? If all of my life, everything I do, all of my traditions are specifically for me, but at the same time, I share all of my life, all of my traditions with all of my human brothers and sisters. The last thought I want to place in our thought environment before I close. Imam Muhammad taught us our language in a way that shows us how our ethnic identity grows out of our human identity or our human nature. In the class, he always taught the Bible, the Quran, and honorable traditions from every human society. The small things he said just shows the clear-headedness of his experience in his human life, as so many times we're not focused on who we are as people. He said, and this is a paraphrase, it's not a direct quote. He said, if you learn this religion the way you're supposed to learn it, you will be equal to everyone on earth. And when I heard that, I recognized what many of us would have said and how we've encouraged each other and children. If you do this, you're going to win. Win meaning you're ahead of others. You're over others. Your identity will be different and above. But he didn't say that. He said, no one will be your superior. Everyone will be equal. And that was the motivation, right? So how Imam Muhammad taught us our language, he taught it in a way that shows us how our ethnic identity, our identity in a small focus in a community, in our community, grows out of our human nature. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate your presentation, and I've been taking some notes, and I'm sure that the audience has as well. And we'll be, inshallah, able to ask you some questions regarding the presentation. Our next presenter for the program is Sister Kalimah Azeez Rashada. And I apologize, I forgot to also mention or read Sister Khadijah bio. Inshallah, I'll once we come back after Sister Kalimah's presentation, we'll read her bio. Sister Kalimah Azeez Rashada, an urban planner, artist, and writer, is also a student of Imam W. Muhammad and was chosen by him to be a student in his Youth Dawah Class when she was only 13 years old. I believe she said 12. Okay. Okay. She taught second grade at the Clara Muhammad School, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and now lives in Memphis, Tennessee, where she works for the local government and sits on 6 different boards throughout the county. Sister Kalimah's topic presentation is the logic of knowing the purpose of our rituals in Al-Islam. I'll repeat that one more time. The logic of knowing the purpose of our rituals in Al-Islam. Just Khadijah.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I am honored always to have an opportunity to share and speak with the community on different topics. This topic is very interesting to me because just recently I was in conversation with a few individuals in our community, and they were talking about their young people, and they were sharing that a lot of the young people are turning away from the religion because it's too many rituals, it's too disciplined in what we have to do. And so when I got the invitation to speak and got the topic, I kind of chuckled because it must mean that the universe is all, we know the universe is all feeling the same energy. So to speak on this is, alhamdulillah, that we are addressing this. So with the topic, speaking on the logic of the rituals, I appreciate how Sister Khadijah started off understanding that all we can do is offer you our perspective and some understanding, but it is a collective group where we put all of this together in order to come to understanding, because we are, as a community, our thoughts as students of Imam Muhammad, we are assured in a sense. So in the same manner, I will be offering what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on my heart. And it's the one who created us will guide us. This is what we say. So I'll start off with the understanding that rituals are designed to hold wisdom and understanding and knowledge. That is what rituals represent in religion. Even outside of religion, it is designed to hold that. But even outside of the religion, they follow the pattern of religion. So what is the logic of understanding it? The logic is, as Muslims, it is our responsibility to understand the wisdom and the logic and the knowledge that rituals hold. So as Muslims, as religious people, this is the beauty of Islam. Islam came because it came to bring enlightenment and understanding and education. We don't just follow blind and empty rituals. And Muhammad the Prophet addressed that when in the Quran it talks about, it says in the Quran, it says righteousness is not that you turn your face to the east or the west. So in this particular verse, Allah is giving us understanding that righteousness is not in empty rituals. We don't do empty rituals in Islam because rituals has a very specific purpose. And Imam Muhammad goes on to say, rituals, he says rituals hold, I don't want to say secrets, but they hold knowledge that can be lost from society. And it is so precious that it would be a great loss. It would be too much of a risk if it was not, if it was just left, it would be a risk. Rituals are created to hold this knowledge. And what is this knowledge? This knowledge in rituals is how we stabilize society. So these rituals and this knowledge that the rituals hold is instructing us with wisdom on how we keep a stable and balanced and righteous society. So if we look at any ritual in Al-Islam, if we look at rituals in community, these practices that we follow in these rituals, are to educate to man, send wisdom and knowledge to man as to how we order and we manage society. So if we let that go, if we do not study that, if we do not strive to understand what it is, then we will have what we call an unbalanced society. We'll have a society where the man is, not on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, not balanced. And we are a religion that is balanced. With the Mizan, we are balanced. So we've seen the effects of society with rituals, but no education of the rituals, not understanding the purpose of the rituals, not extracting wisdom from the rituals. So this is the beauty. This is the beauty of rituals being maintained. This is the beauty of us being disciplined to make sure that we keep these rituals in practice so that we can continue to extract from it on how to balance and how to establish community life, how to establish how we order our society. All of this is held in the rituals. But we do not support empty rituals. My family, we recently all relocated to Memphis and we live in one home. So I have younger brothers who are 18 years old and 24 and et cetera. And in educating them, I remember we were coming to prayer and we were telling them, don't come to prayer with logos on or words. We don't do that. And so because we are we are a family and a community and it encourages intelligence, we get the, why is that? From my younger brother. And so we're explaining to him. And so as we're explaining to him why we don't do this, why we keep this tradition up, what it conveys to the intellect of the person, not to come representing logos or things that represent the world. When you come and you stand before Allah, we stand as if we are a cemented structure and we become a part of the masjid or the place where we're bowing down as a wall or cemented structure. Would you have logos of Nike on the walls of the masjid? And so we're explaining to him the understanding behind it. And it's so much more understanding, and it continues to unfold as man continue to evolve and advance in their thinking. So we're explaining this to him. And so as we're explaining this to him, he said, well, then why don't we just have, just prayer garments? And I said, in some countries they have created prayer garments because you put it on before you go to prayer so that we don't have that. But where they failed is that they created these prayer garments, and this prayer garment became an empty ritual because they didn't educate the people why. So the people are putting on prayer garments and they're going to prayer and there's no logos being expressed, no wording. They don't have distractive clothing on there. It solves the problem, but it left out the education. So now we have whole groups of people who believe that they can't pray without their prayer garment. Oh, sister, I can't pray because I don't have, the garment that I put on. Or I can't pray, brother, because I don't got the proper thobe to put on, instead of teaching them the wisdom behind it. So we have to understand that these rituals hold wisdom, and this wisdom protects the environment and keep us balanced. And we never want to create a situation where we present logic and wisdom, or we present rituals without the understanding. And so everything that we have, from the way we make wudu, from the way we pray, and this is the beauty of Imam Muhammad, because he came to give us the wisdom in every single ritual so that we can order society in a balanced and righteous way. Everything he conveyed to us. And then, as we spoke earlier, and then he exemplified how these rituals, this wisdom from these rituals, are to be expressed in our everyday life of creating society, of ordering society. So we have to be able to understand that rituals is the wisdom for how we order our society. But rituals is not the foundation of how we are to behave and believe. That has to be in the heart of the individual. Our behavior and our belief has to be in the heart of the individual. That's the character of who we are. The ritual is for us to understand how we order society. And oftentimes we get that mixed up. We think that because we perform the ritual, that is our character and how we're supposed to behave, and our belief is because it is found within the ritual. When we do these rituals and we know the hadith of the man who did all the rituals, and they said, oh, he is better than us because he's doing all these rituals, he's performing all the salah, and he's doing all of these things. But Muhammad the Prophet, I'm paraphrasing, Muhammad the Prophet said, well, who feeds him? Who does these basic needs and meet the basic everyday life? And they say, we do it. He says, well, therefore you are better than him. So we have to understand in rituals that you are still responsible for your upright character and belief and behavior. The ritual is done in order that we order society correctly. So we can have people that pray all day, but they can not have the right character. People that fast the whole month of Ramadan and fast every Monday and Thursday and do the ritual, but not understand how it's supposed to relay and educate you to order your society and to order your character and increase your belief. So we have a lot of young people who see us do rituals, who see us follow this, but then our character is not right. We don't truly believe. Our behavior is not right, but we're doing the rituals. And so it becomes a turnoff for them. And they always say, it says that the hypocrites are on the bottom of the hellfire. Why does Allah hate the hypocrites the most? Because the hypocrites are ones who say that they believe, who give the impression that they believe, but make sure but in return, their character and their expression and their belief does not match up with it. And what does that do to society? When we have people who pretend to believe or give us the impression that they believe or that they have the best religion or that this thing is the best thing for them, but then it had not even reached or changed their character, or it hasn't made them better people. It turns people off to it. People say, well, that ain't really what it's supposed to be. So now you turn people off to the religion. You turn people off to the best thing that they could have for their life, because you're kind of like a hypocrite in how you having empty rituals, but it had not penetrated your heart and changed how you order things. So this is why we don't have empty rituals in Islam. And this is why we always have to put the importance of understanding and educating ourselves in what these rituals mean, so that we can make it applicable to how we order our homes, how we order our daily lives, how we order our communities, how we interact with our families. And Imam Muhammad, I know he would say this. He says, we need to live the Quran in such a way that if there is no Qurans left in the world, someone could come and look at how we order our lives and rewrite the whole Quran word for word. So this is in how we carry ourselves. This would become how we operate. Rituals are in place in the event that he said it's too risky to leave it just the education or the knowledge just in society, because it can get distorted or something can happen. So we preserve it in the rituals. So in the event that the wisdom is taken away from society, the wisdom is no longer there, we can look at the ritual and we can rewrite the understanding and the wisdom in alignment with the Quran word for word. We'll look at how we're moving and how we've established ourselves and the practices that we do, why we pray 5 times a day. And in truth, Imam Muhammad said he looked at how Islam was ordered. He looked at the rituals and he came to this. Allah bless him to come to the understanding that and the wisdom that we even got from him, because he was able to look at it. Because in truth, if you turn to the Muslim world and you think that you're going to get some heavy knowledge from them and extract how to order society, and you look at the condition that they're in, it's not going to be in just how they're speaking and relaying and the wisdom that they're teaching. You're not going to find it there. So Imam Muhammad looked at the wisdom in the rituals. This is why he could explain to us what the prayer represents, how we rise and fall as a society. This is how he can explain to us what the wudu represents, how we clean our souls up to be able to stand in front of Allah, each move, each step. This is how he can give us the understanding of what each position that we do, what's the importance of fasting, all of these rituals, because it was preserved in the rituals that allowed someone like Imam Muhammad to come behind and extract all of the wisdom out, because it's not prevalent in the Muslim world. It's not prevalent even in a lot of intellectual lectures and books that were written. So this is the importance of rituals. This is why we have to always preserve the rituals. And I've heard a few people say, well, if the rituals is to teach us education, then once we extract the education from it, then we don't necessarily need the ritual. And that is not the case, because we rise and fall as one. And because you may be able to extract the education from it, you still are a leader, and you have to preserve that if you understand even the purpose of the ritual. So if I know what prayer is education and I educate myself like this, there's no need for prayer anymore. You have some people that say, I understand the purpose of fasting, so there's no need for fasting anymore. I'll just, feed some homeless people because I already understand it, brother. I already understand it, sister. But when you take this out of society, it becomes too risky, as Imam Muhammad said. It's too risky, and we don't leave things up to risk. We don't gamble in Islam, and it's too risky. Instead, we make sure that we maintain it within our society. We make sure that we maintain these rituals so that if the whole world is wiped out, they can look at how we order our lives. They look at how we operate every day, and they can rewrite a balanced and stable society for God. Again, based off of what we have established in our lives with the rituals and the practices that we have. And that is my presentation. Alhamdulillah. And this is a very sensitive topic to me, because I watch a lot of young people who they don't like the discipline. I believe in Allah, I love Islam, but the discipline and the rituals and it's too much. So it is very dear, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak on this. Because we have to maintain this, and we have to make sure that with the rituals that we maintain belief and good character, because that's what supports the rituals that we do. They cannot be empty rituals. So, and we have to have that when we talked earlier, we have to have that human excellence to go along with it, because our young people need to see that, and they need to know that we have the best thing. And it's not empty rituals. It is to convey wisdom and logic that can order your whole life.
Alhamdulillah, we appreciate your presentation, both those presentations. And I'm sure that the audience listening got something special from you, because you all are students. We're students in Imam Muhammad's class. And the things that Imam Muhammad gave was not just something you can get from anybody. And we can clearly hear that in how you both extract the information in your presentations. What we would like to do is open the lines to audience members, those listening, watching our program. Feel free to open to ask questions for our presenters. While we're waiting, I wanted to make it clear, or for you to clarify. So what you're saying regarding the rituals was rituals are mainly to help, like, to uphold the society, to keep it intact. Is that one of the major things you were saying?
Yes. Rituals are exactly what you said. They're in place to help us uphold society and preserve wisdom that is too risky to go just left unpreserved.
Right.
Because this wisdom, we have to understand that Islam does in the Quran comes to order our individual lives,
Right.
but it really comes to address whole societies and how to order the whole collective life. One of my most favorite terms is a divinely inspired republic. Islam comes to establish a divinely inspired republic. So if that's what Islam is coming to do, then the rituals are instructing us or preserving wisdom on how we stabilize and how we order this divinely inspired republic, how we express every aspect from the women being behind the men in the prayer, from everything. It is holding the wisdom of how we keep a stable society in alignment with this republic that is inspired by God.
That's just, I see very clearly. I'm just waiting on our technician to put something on the screen where I can see the questions from the audience, because I can't see it from where I am. But yes.
I did see a question earlier come across one of the chats, and it asked if it was one question we could have asked Imam Muhammad, what would it have been? I did see that one earlier. You know, I often speak of that with my sister because my older sister was in the class as well as my brother.
Okay.
And so we often say that. And in truth, we'll start off, if it was one question, what would you have asked Imam Muhammad? And then, you know, we'll go through, I would have. And then when we really get down to it, we're like, he gave us everything.
Right.
We just have to, he gave us everything. We kind of just like, no, he gave us that. We have to go back and sit and marinate and reflect and study, and sometimes even make dua. And sometimes I even fall asleep, and I remember a lecture like he told me in that lecture. So there's really no nothing that I could think of that I would have asked Imam Muhammad that he hadn't already given us. And it's just a matter of me evolving in my understanding. Like you said, we're still evolving to become an even better student, evolving in my understanding, evolving in my perception to be able to extract it from what he has given us.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, while we're waiting for questions, and I still can't see them on my screen, there is a major issue that is going on in the world regarding the situation in Palestine and Israel. And the one of the questions that I had written to ask you, as students of Imam Muhammad, kind of being also aware of Imam Muhammad's sensitivities as a leader and his thought process. How should we be as Muslims in America, specifically, but in general, but more specifically in America as African Americans, how should we approach this issue, and how should we be addressing this issue in the public? Either you can speak for when you're ready.
You want me to go? Okay. So there's a sound. Is it just me?
There's a static.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear myself clearly, but you sound, you sound a little bit like you're muffled, but I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
It's probably the technician. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll see if I can improve my sound by doing this. I don't know. Did that help? That help? Oh wow. Sorry about that. That was me. Okay. Okay, so the question with respect to Palestine and Israel. Okay, first, just some approaches to human life. So I think at all times, and always Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, at all times, no matter what we see in the world, we have to remember that we should never be motivated by the ugly we see in the world, but the good. And definitely problems focus our attention so that they can be addressed. But as Allah shows us again and again in the Quran, the best way to address challenges in human life is through modeling. The prophet, and I don't know which specific prophet said, and I can't remember exactly which one, he said, it's not my responsibility to go and like make you do something. At the same time, we do know that the prophet, he did not turn the other cheek. So he was not a pacifist, you know, as we understand people to be shying away from conflict. What I'm saying is that when we see an issue, we have to look at it in the context of how it may have developed. Any issue we see in human life had to start from a misunderstanding of who you are as a human being in community. You may have an understanding that your identity entitles you to different things. So to save the person in the event that they may at any point seek forgiveness, which that is the whole point of life, to keep working with them to bring them back to human life. Another thing, we as individuals are not able to solve any of the problems we see. We would go to the extreme, hurt ourselves and hurt society when we become impatient with Allah's plan, which is He's building a model. Allah is not inept. He doesn't need our assistance bringing His servants into agreement. I mean, just imagine being in the midst of slavery, knowing it was going to unfold for hundreds of years, but knowing it was wrong, and just being impatient with the evil and saying, I'm done with this, as if the only thing that needed to happen in order for society to change was for me to get upset. Like, okay, now I entered the room. Now everybody stop and do the right thing. It's like, no. Allah has a plan, and that plan is unfolding. We are a part of that plan. And the best thing we can do is to get into the community formation. And alhamdulillah, as citizens of this country, that affords us with a lot of resources, working together with our Congress people, working together with each other, exploring the different avenues of how we can keep the light on with respect to truth and what's true about our living in community together. But more importantly, do not repeat that you condemn. Do not repeat that you condemn. We sometimes, in our zeal to be righteous, put problems on specific people's faces such that we can't even notice them when our own actions are lending it ourselves in our own homes, in our own communities. And we always can rise up and, you know, we're like the little dogs, the little tiny dogs, they bark the loudest when they know they're on a leash, right? Like, they're on a leash, right? You take them off the leash, then all of a sudden they want to run in the house. So it's like if something's clear across the world, we got all this energy to stand up to what's wrong. But your own family member, do you have the courage to stand up to your own brother, your own sister? If everyone in the world had the courage to correct those closest to them and not make excuses for them, we would have no problems. But it's because those closest to us say, well, this is why. You have to understand. So let us work through the avenues community affords us to handle issues between communities, but then know that we are called to fix the climate that creates these huge issues. We create cultures where we don't say anything when we can't see what's wrong when it's right next to us. If we practice that, our model, we have to believe in God's plan. His plan is a model. The strength of the prophet's model was enough to achieve all the victories he achieved and to even guide us today. So we have to have faith in God's plan, not in our intelligence of being able to describe the problem and that's the wrong person, that's the right person. Do we have to stand up? Yes, we do. But it's all a part of establishing a model. So even as we stand up to injustice, we're not really standing up to injustice. We're being true by the nature that God gave us. So we're not motivated by problems. I could do this for time immemorial. You won't wear me out because I'm standing on beauty and righteousness and not motivated in anything by problems. And I'll just end by saying this. And we see the prophet tells us, you love your brother, whether he's in the right or the wrong, right? And you do that by pulling him back. So which means love is my motivation. Not a problem, love. Because I know how God made you. And I'm fighting for you to bring you back into the community. I want you back, right? So that should be our motivation, a beautiful picture of our brothers and sisters who we're trying to bring back.
I did want to speak on this as well. And in the same vein as Khadijah, the way that we address the problems in the world, not just Palestine, we're looking at Nigeria, we're looking at Egypt, we're looking we're looking at home, we're looking at New York, we're looking at California. The way we address that is to establish a model community. Because what happens when we establish a model community, it speaks in the Quran, and I paraphrase, what is the argument that no argument can argue against? In the Quran, it talks about this argument that no one can combat or argue against. What is this? Imam Muhammad gave us wisdom to understand that this argument that no argument can oppose is the establishment of a model community, is the actually establishing what you're supposed to establish. So if I have a problem with injustice, how do I address the problem with injustice? By establishing a situation where I have a model situation where we addressed it. So then, well, black and whites can't get along. Well, we established this model community. This is where it is. I'm showing you. You can't argue against it because you've seen it plainly. Well, Muslims and Jews have problems. Look at this model community. Muhammad the Prophet came and addressed all of these concerns by establishing a model community. He established it. So if we want to speak to any problem in the world with surety, with yaqeen, then we have to establish a model community. If we want to speak to anything, we have to establish it. So, and it goes back to when I was talking about being a hypocrite. That's what keeps us from being, if we say that we have the best thing that orders our lives, we have the solution for the world, but we don't establish it, then it looks like, do you really have a solution for the world? Do you really have the best thing? Can you really speak on this? When you have the Quran, when you have the life example of Muhammad the Prophet, when you have the wisdom of Imam Muhammad, and you didn't even solve it in your own environment to be a beacon of light to show, what will happen is if we establish ourselves here, then other countries will look at us and say, look at these people who went through slavery, who went through Jim Crow, who went through segregation, went through all of this, and the law lifted them up out of their situation and established them as an example to the world. That'll speak to the hearts of the Palestinians to be able to endure what they do. That'll speak to the hearts of all the brothers who, like Khadijah said, pull them back. Whoa, I can't be like this. Look how Allah orders things. Because we did what we were supposed to do and establish ourselves in the pattern that Allah established ourselves. So in the same vein, when we talked about Imam Muhammad starting the class, Imam Muhammad, can you speak on 9/11? He said, I'm going to establish a situation. That was him speaking on it. So what do we do when we speak on Palestine? We establish ourselves. We educate and let us be beacons of wisdom doing da'wah to bring the right image. Because sometimes establishing and not getting caught up in the propaganda or what's going on, but showing in our example is the most powerful way of speaking on the issue.
Right. Alhamdulillah. I mean, it's one of the land back on what you said. Both said. I appreciate that, because that is one of the main regarding the establishment and the model of Muslim communities. One of the main reasons why we called our program New Africa Talks, because New Africa was the vision, the name that Imam Muhammad was trying to give to put vision into the ideal Muslim community that he wanted for us to have, so that the world can look at what has happened to these people who were put down to the lowest of the low, and that if Al-Islam can do that, transform them to an excellent people, to raise them up, then the world will have no excuse. And as Imam Muhammad said, he said, New Africa for us is a chance to establish Al-Islam with our own hands. With our own hands. Alhamdulillah. Brother Bilal said he was going to show on this as a question. You had a statement?
No, I just said, imagine if you were on CNN and someone said, what do you speak of on the Palestine issue? And we say, play the video of New Africa. And it's showing everyone, this is what I say about this issue. We need to establish this everywhere.
Right.
They were like, that'd be so powerful. Like, oh, drop the mic. You know?
Because it's undisputable. Because it's evident. We have a question from Sister Miriam Sabir. If is one question I could ask Imam Muhammad, I would ask, where would I be able to see the Quran given to the community by the Grand Mufti of Russia? What center, masjid, etc. is its keeper? I guess there was a Quran given to the Grand Mufti of Russia. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think I can speak on this.
There might be someone who has that information. None of us on this platform, unfortunately. From our brother Akeem, how was the original dhikr with the fingers more beneficial than the objects such as dhikr beads? Because I guess with this regards in terms of rituals, and the Prophet gave us a ritual which was to use our fingers, and later on, some Muslims, nothing wrong with it, but they used dhikr beads. So any comments on that?
You can go, Kalim. Yeah, go.
So what happens? We give the object we make the object the spiritual thing. We make the object it holds more than it is. So when I give you the dhikr beads, I think that this thing becomes a spiritual object, when the importance is in the dhikr. Just wherever I am, I can make the dhikr with my fingers. And so, like I said, when we talked about the folds or the prayer garment, we make that object hold the importance opposed to what we're doing. So Muhammad the Prophet is so merciful, because this is the religion that every human being can express without needing anything extra. I don't need some external reality to practice my religion. I don't need some object to hold significance in order to be in the remembrance of my Lord. All I need is myself. All I need is what Allah has given me in His beautiful mercy. So it takes that away. The poor man can practice just as well as the rich man. I don't need a silk garment. I don't need a prayer rug to pray. I don't need any of these things. All I need is the basic thing that I have. And how beautiful is that as African Americans, where everything was taken from us. Right. But yet we can practice this religion in the most fullest expression, because no material item holds any spiritual significance or holds anything. And then you also have to remember, I remember we were in class, Imam Muhammad said if he could write a book, he would write a book on the colonization of the Muslim world by the Crusaders. We never think about that. a lot of the Crusaders colonized the Muslim world for hundreds of years.
Right.
And some of the things that we have adopted in our religion, because what's the first thing you do when you conquer a people? You do assimilation. You start to get rid of some of their cultural practices and you make them conform to yours. So some of the things that we even adopted, and this is just giving a different angle, into our religion is not even from our religion.
Right.
It's from us competing with the Christians by being colonized for them. So we started to make Muhammad the prophet to be this idol in our minds because they had Jesus Christ. We see the rosary beads, and they have rosary beads, so then we pick up rosary beads, or we see the rituals that they did in a way that they did it, so then we start making the rituals empty rituals out of context. So we have to always be conscious of that as well, understanding from a historical point, and then understanding how Islam is so, it just comes right to the fitra of the human being, just the original nature. You don't need anything to express, any external item to express your practice of worship in Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
And there was a question earlier, before we were officially taking questions. I think someone had asked what two brothers I was referring to in my speech,
okay,
or in the little presentation. So the first person is Frederick Douglass. And yeah, oh yeah, he's my brother. He's our brother.
yeah.
And so there's a whole lot I can say about that. And the second person is whoever put together this program. And in between those two, what I'm hoping that we'll be able to do as community members is to recognize each other as human, not just as selfie makers. You know, we take picture of this, right? But actually salute people and recognize, I can see you're a part of this community. I can see Imam Muhammad in you. I can see, you know, you moving this community forward. You know, that greeting, that affirmation, and to be able to see it, not just be like, all right, excellent job, but like, no, like you can actually see it. And it's such a good feeling to be able to see that and to state with certainty, like, I see Imam Muhammad in you, like I do, right? I do. And I can point to, I can show how, right? I can show how. And I listen to the Imams as they give their speeches. I'm like, yep, he did the same thing. He's using our language. This person, same thing. Different person, different blessings from God, bringing into the community. But it is so important to be able to see our unity, because people have us as united through our pain, united through pain in the beginning and pain now, and even ironically the color of our skin, which happens to be black. But Imam Muhammad's like, I'm not black. Why they calling me black? You know, so we have to understand who we are as a people. And again, back to the title of the section I was responsible for, to know who we are. Our whole people was a people who came to understand who we were directly from understanding who we were as humans, how we have to put our spirit into this world, or it ain't gonna happen. Nobody's gonna sit here and wait for something to happen. We had to get into our Adam, or we weren't going nowhere as a people, right? So our whole story of who we are came from accessing and working, having faith in who we are as human beings.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. I just want to, again, just compliment what you both were saying. With some comments Imam Muhammad gave, he said, the greatest instrument for our da'wah is entertainment and culture. So this speaks to how we have to affect the society. Culture, as Imam Muhammad explained, is everything that you're not born with. And regarding skin, you had mentioned, Imam Muhammad said, and things that supposedly identify us, he said, We want to be a race conscious people, yes, but we don't want to be a black conscious people. Now, what's the difference? Black consciousness is reaction to white supremacy, and healthy race consciousness is no more than my inherent natural good life. This was a 1998 Sacred Life Connection. These, I mean, when I read the Imam comments, they're so ahead. They're not ahead of their time, but it's like for the society. When he gave them, it's right on time. But the society hasn't. We're not in the right mind to be able to appreciate them. And now we can see, if you look at what the Imam Muhammad has been giving us from the Quran, the life example of Muhammad the Prophet, you can see they fit right in with what is needed in this society. And I wanted to say, with regards to the situation in Palestine, I think about the situation that was going on in terms of when George Floyd was murdered, and there were a lot of upheavals going on. And my thought was that, a lot of that's not really going to, because at some point you can't be out in the street protesting forever. That's just not a sustainable thing. You're not going to be able to scream for the rest of your life. So my mind was always, when I'm looking at this, and I felt sorry for our specific people, African American, because when you have something that you know is the answer, but then the media or whatever is not going to be able to or won't promote it, you feel like bummed about it. But my thought is always, if you want police brutality to stop, if you want people to respect you, the only solution is maintaining yourself, preserving yourself, having your own community where other people don't have the opportunity to harass you because you look different, because you talk different, you sound different. It reminds me of when I was at work. One of my coworkers had mentioned how I work in Harlem, firefighter. He was like being reflective on how he noticed how the things that the African American boys were doing, some getting into mischief, some not, just being rambunctious. He said, like, that's just, he was just really realizing like that's really just normal. So like, and he was kind of coming to a realization of how they're just not allowed to do it. Whereas in his neighborhood, because he's Caucasian and because the police system are his uncles, friends, family members, when they see him or someone like him, his younger brother, this and the other, it's like, oh, that's like Timmy's son, or I know that's, they can even see their own son in him and like give him a pass, so on and so forth. But that's what happens when you have your community in your own hands. So this talk of New Africa and African Americans having our life in our own hands is critical, and there is no other solution. There is absolutely no other solution. There's no, write this letter to the government. Okay, let's get this law passed by the president. He'll be on television. Treat black people good. It's not going to happen. The only way to live our full life is to have our lives in our own destiny. I think we have time for I think one more question. If there are any more, Bilal, if you could put one more on screen, you can do that. If not, then I'm going to conclude with this. I wanted to mention this earlier, but again, it's really in relation to what you had mentioned, Sister Khadijah, and that was about like looking at ourselves and valuing ourselves and as students of Imam Muhammad and the community of Imam Muhammad, his association. Issue has come up regarding the successor of Imam Muhammad. See, on this program, we like to deal with issues that are affecting our community, that will affect it in the future, issues that present us in a certain light. Discussions that talked about individuals come about said he himself is the successor of Imam Muhammad, and that we as a community should follow him. And I know that the majority of Imam Muhammad's students and those who are living in the community are not in agreement with that. But because y'all were specifically, educated with Imam Muhammad, he taught you all specifically for several years. No one would know better, in my opinion, than students who are in Imam Muhammad's class, and specifically his wife, as regards to Imam Muhammad leaving someone behind and speaking to him secretly for the time to come about when he or she, this individual or individuals, would be the leader. Could you speak to that, this issue? Because it has popped up several times, and now I'm on a group where it's even discussing outside of our specific community, and that's the thing. It causes confusion. So you're both free to answer this talk, and be mindful of the time. But I'll let you continue if we're going beyond. Sister Kalimah, you can speak to the topic. But it seems like you're muted. Oh, is he muting us? You can't get unmuted? You're not able to.
I'm going to let Sister Khadijah, please go ahead and speak on this. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So there are a couple things. When President Trump was president and ran for president and won, I began to think I should run for president. Now, I ain't nobody's president. But when I see that moral leadership has exited the building, everyone begins to look inside of themselves to see, am I the one? Is it me I'm supposed to stand up and do this? We'll set that thought aside. And I say that because we want to make sure we locate every one of our brothers and sisters inside the human community, right? Because whether someone's the leader or not, they are our brother and they are our sister. And through all times, we will maintain those relationships and we will respect them. We are all given the freedom to pursue who we think we should be. And if there are people who feel more stable, more safe with a particular person, they have all the freedom on earth to do that. I think what's bothering those people who are bothered is what we haven't done ourselves. We cannot be motivated by something we don't like. Muslims are constantly praying, not because they committed a sin, but because they are motivated continuously to follow God's will. What I'm trying to say, our job is to establish this community. We have dropped the ball. And at this point, it's fair game to anyone who believes they can do it. Until we do what we know we're supposed to do. Light dispels darkness. Light would let me go sit back down and recognize I ain't nobody's president. I don't want to be president. But until we get some intelligent order in the moral life, I'm going to have to keep asking God, am I supposed to run for president? I don't want to run for president. So what I'm saying is the solution is never superficial. We shouldn't look at our community and say this is how it should look. We should be consistently working to establish the affirmation of what this community is supposed to be, continuing and following the leadership of Imam Muhammad. And I'll stop there because I know there's more from Sister Kalimah. And I have more thoughts too, but I know the time and I took it all, Kalimah. I apologize. I hope we have extra minutes.
There's still
short and sweet. The Quran has been our leader before Imam Muhammad, and the Quran is our leader after Imam Muhammad. And Imam Muhammad told us that the Quran, an example of Muhammad the Prophet, and the wisdom that he left us has always been our leader. And so I always stress that who's going to be the leader? Well, what's always leading us? The Quran. You know, it's timeless relevancy. It's always going to, nothing can live outside of the context. Who was always leading us? Muhammad the Prophet, his example. So we want to understand that is always our leader. If we see people standing up that is not in accordance with the Quran, the life example of Muhammad the Prophet, and Imam Muhammad, then that is not our leader. Point blank and simple. And like Sister Khadijah said, if the moral excellence that we and the human excellence that she spoke of has exit stage left, and you have a mustard seed of it in you, then you have to become the clean glass of water up against the dirty glass of water. Instead of saying, who told this brother? Now, it is some brothers out there that I said, who told this brother that he thought he could lead? Maybe because I'm a sister, but, you know, like, who told this brother? Nobody else. You know, but we have to be able to say, who told this brother? Alhamdulillah, I'm going to stand up. And guess what? It's a saying that says, my sheep knows my voice. I'm guarantee you that if you stand up and you take on the responsibility, then those who know the spirit and the language of Muhammad the Prophet, those who know the spirit and the language of the Quran, those who know the spirit and the language of Imam Muhammad will know his voice speaking through you, and they will follow that direction. And it's not a single person. We have gotten in the tradition of African Americans to think that it has to be a single individual that stands before us. But any individual that's following that spirit that is in the Quran, the spirit of Muhammad the Prophet, the spirit of Imam, and is leading us. It may be someone different in the industry of entertainment. It may be someone in government. We follow those people who are following the Quran, the leadership of Imam Muhammad and Muhammad the Prophet. And those who are not, we stand up in our souls, in our conditions, in our situations, in our families, in our communities, and we present that clean glass of water of moral and human excellence, into the point whereas we overshadow and that dirty glass of water that is standing up just because we have failed. Like Khadijah said, no one, everybody looking around to the left, to the right. Sound like them over here, sound like them over there. And they ain't nobody saying, y'all giving the taslim out and y'all ain't even stood up in Qiyam yet. But y'all already looking to the left and right trying to see who gonna do it. You gotta stand up first. So it is, I guess, is what we have now is a call of action to every good person who is responsible to maintain the moral excellence in community life. You stand up and you be a leader in your right. This is why every brother is an imam and responsible for his family. And I just want to touch on this is the beauty of coronavirus. You know, coronavirus. This is the beauty. Coronavirus made us all have to leave the collective space, go back, and every individual person became responsible for his religious life in his home, with his family. Every individual person had to conduct their Jumu'ahs in their homes. They had to study. You can't turn to this person and escape and go to the... Everyone became responsible to stand up to study. If you didn't know how to lead the Jumu'ah in your home, guess what? You're going to learn now. If there was problems in your home before, guess what? You're going to have to address them now. If your children was misbehaving in the school system, guess what? You teaching them now. The responsibility went back to the cornerstone of community life, which was the family. And now we're all responsible. Allah is showing us the responsibility back on the individual, no longer on that. So inshallah, we will all stand up and be that example. And we will have one heck of an election because we all gonna be running for president since Moral excellence has exited stage left.
If I can't, then let me know. But yes, if I may, I can. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So I want to say, this community that we have has to be big enough to nurture the development of adults. We have to be big enough in who we understand we are to allow people to go through the steps that they need to go through to find truth, to find light, and that nobody can take the community anywhere. Okay, you can't take them nowhere, right? And then finally, I wish there was something I could say quickly, but I know that there's a lot that needs to be sought after by each of us before words or any guidance can be effective. I'll say this. We think we know Imam Muhammad, but we do not. I was talking to someone the other day. We don't. And because we think we know, we don't consult each other. We don't know why he's our leader. And because we don't know why he's our leader, we ask questions like, is this the next leader? If I know what lunch is, if I see a box of Kleenexes pass me, I don't go, is that lunch? If I understand what lunch was, I'm not going to be in threat of eating the desk, or consuming a pen, because I understand what lunch is, right? So it's not so much the different things that present themselves in our vision that we could consume and possibly hurt us as lunch. The issue is that we think things are edible that they're not. And that then makes you wonder, well, what did you think you were eating when you were actually eating lunch? Like, what do you think this is the same as this? So really, I think there's a bigger issue that is our responsibility. Is we need to know, why is Imam Muhammad our leader? And what I've found is that as beautiful as we may be, our understanding of leadership is a physical thing. He physically stood in front of us. He physically was one person and we were many. And I saw him up there, and that he's our leader. And he says really smart things, right? That nobody else can say. And that's our understanding of leader. So anyone we see who can gather a large group of people and say smart things, we get a little tempted, like, oh my, that might be my leader. The issue is education. We have to know why he's our leader. And it has to go beyond a personal understanding of our relationship with him, such that, like I said, I can see Imam Muhammad in everyone. It's no big deal. It's like, I can see it in everyone. It's no special thing. I can see it in everyone. Right? So, but people will do what they will do. I'm not about to lend myself to go wrestling with something that's going. I'm not. That's not what I was put on this earth for. Allah has given people the freedom to live the life they want to live. I intend to do my life in as best way as I possibly can. And you get what you seek after. And there's nothing anybody can want for you that's going to override the design that God has put into the world. So I hope that we're motivated by the beautiful example of Imam Muhammad, instead of trying to cover the mouth and hold folks back. And I mean, speak a word out to the truth if somebody's saying something that's not true, but be big enough to love and to nurture even the adults in our community. Don't put them out, right? They're still part of our community, even as they find their way in a way that may not be the way we would do it. But if this is community, if this is a real community, anything worth its salt, we're going to have to eventually do what the United States does. We got serial killers that we're feeding lunch, until the judge decides what happens to them. You have to be so established in who you are that you can handle the serious business of community. And the serious business of community is developing every single member in that community, no matter their struggles, no matter their history. They've gone here, they need to be whatever it called, I don't know, bring them back into society. But that's our responsibility as community. And we should never see ourselves smaller than, or that we're going to fall apart if somebody's struggling. That's our job, to help them develop into the best person they can be, while never losing sight of truth and reality as they grow and as we offer them that light, that guidance, that model of how we should live on this earth together.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Thank you both for your comments. I want to add that something Imam Rashad had mentioned regarding the language of Imam Muhammad. He had said that, Imam Muhammad, and this is what is important, and it's what y'all are both saying. Imam Muhammad was more than language. And so we'll say Imam Muhammad was a knowledge body, and he was more than a knowledge body. He was a character. So when we look to leadership, we also look to character of individuals, the moral character of individuals. That should be on our mind regarding anyone, whether they're claiming to be leader or not, in any task we're trying to do to help build the community. Because with Shura, for example, you don't just get anybody on Shura. It's not a democracy. You get the knowledgeable ones and those who are known, established in the society with excellent and good character. Alhamdulillah. We want to conclude and thank you both for being on our program. It was very enlightening for the students, and I'm sure for those who are not very familiar with Imam Muhammad, I'm sure that it was enlightening for them. Inshallah, we will have y'all on the show again at a different time with different topics, because we do want to always expose our community to individuals who, I'm thinking specifically of what Imam Muhammad wanted. I don't think Imam Muhammad taught a class of young people to just teach a class of young people. It's because he knew that they would outlive him and the adults who are older, and they, those in the class would be minds open to his commentary, which wouldn't be influenced by the society. So again, thank you very much for being on our program, and I want to leave us with this comment from Imam Muhammad regarding New Africa. He said, or leave us with two comments, actually. New Africa is a vision and an ideology designed to have the African American people appreciate the interest in a stronger cultural life, built upon the best traditions of our ancestors and leaders in African American history. Part of its realization is the development of business centers designed, owned, and operated by African Americans for the purpose of strengthening the sense of cultural life and identity. The expression New Africa as a name for these centers would serve the intent for a richer appreciation and recognition of Africa. This is from the Ocular Magazine, 1996. And lastly, this is from his lecture From Africa to America, an Islamic Perspective, 1994. He says, I'm working for the day when we will have a piece of this America for ourselves. Not only one piece, but many pieces of this America for ourselves, where we will have a masjid and school within our reach, where we can walk to it, where we will hear the adhan called over the minaret. We'll hear it 5 times a day. We'll be reminded, as we should be reminded, by a mueddin, a person appointed, and this is my parentheses, not a recording, a person appointed to carry out that responsibility, and many, many other things I hope to see and realize in my lifetime. so that I can more perfectly live the fullness of my Islamic life according to the principles of faith and the mighty five, which when he said the mighty five, referring to the 5 pillars. Alhamdulillah, I pray that the audience got what they were looking for, and take time to watch the tape, listen to the comments of our esteemed guests, and perhaps what you heard in the first listening, in the second and third listening, you'll get more appreciation for it. So again, thank you very much. We pray that Allah blesses you both with many rewards. And to our listening audience, assalamu alaikum. And inshallah, I'll see you again on New Africa Talks. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't work against us becoming Muslims if that's our choice. America is land of the free and home of the brave. And damn it, I'm brave and I'm free. And you can't take it away from me. I'm going to have freedom of choice. I choose Islam. I choose Quran. I choose Muhammad. I choose this religion for myself. And as long as my children are under my supervision and not of age to make their own decision, I am choosing Islam for all of my children. As long as my wife will like me, will love me, and she doesn't have to love me, as long as she respects me. I choose Islam for my wife. And that's my responsibility. And I hope you all feel the same way. Thank God we are free at last. We are free at last. You're not free when you're just free from physical bondage. You're not free until your mind is free and your human spirit is free. Your human spirit will take you where God wants you to go. And if you got that human spirit that will follow what God wants, your mind will be blessed by God to know how to get your body there. To get your body there. We're tired of being spooks in America or anywhere else. We are no spooks. We have a human body like everybody else. Don't tell me to accept God, immigrant Muslim from Pakistan and from Egypt and other places. Don't come over here and give me a life of Muslim ritualism. I had enough ritualism. I feel the genes in the, of my foreparents. They are in me. And I have a distaste for too much ritualism. I want reality. I want reality, and I want a place in this world. I want to obey God, and I want to get my share of this material world. Don't give me a spirit and tell me I can't have a body. God didn't give me a spirit and tell me I can't have a body. God gave me a spirit, and he gave me a material body to house my spirit. Now give me a material environment to house my mind and my spirit that is African American. We want to see New Africa. We want to see New Africa Islamic theaters. We want to see skyscrapers go up and we build them. We want to see shipping lines and trucking lines and transportation lines all over in our neighborhood. We want to walk outside our house and we want to look at the products and the construction and the industry of our own people, Muslim African Americans in New Africa, on these shores. On these shores. That's our rightful inheritance as the creation of God. God has created us for this. That's our natural inheritance. And we will accept nothing less. Nothing less. They have Spanish Town. They have Chinatown. Damn it, get ready for African American Town, Muslim New Africa. And I won't say it. I know you've been waiting for it. You've been waiting for me to say it. We cannot be stopped now.